Roxanne Paltoff disappeared on Friday, July 7th, 2006. When a person disappears without a trace, often the most critical information is hidden in their actions and words from the days before they vanished. Roxanne Paltoff's last known whereabouts may hold the clues to what happened to her. A teenage girl leaves a motel one summer night and never returns.
She left her phone, she left her debit card, she left her purse behind, and I knew at that moment something was wrong and my daughter was in danger.
Could the items she left behind hold clues to her disappearance?
I know Roxanne's clothing. I've never seen these clothes. It wasn't even Roxanne's size.
I thought, okay, this guy's got her ID and we're gonna find Roxanne.
Or will the results of DNA tests reveal what really happened?
I was just bawling my eyes out, thinking, oh my God, this is Roxanne. They actually found her.
July 3rd, 2006. It's a humid Monday morning in Austin, Texas. 18-year-old Roxanne Paltoff is looking forward to the July 4th holiday. This Independence Day marks her and her boyfriend Lewis's 2-year anniversary. And after the fireworks, they're planning on spending time together in a local motel. She returns home to pick up some additional belongings.
She came in the house, rushed in, and she goes, I'll be home in a couple of days. And I said, okay. And I said, just, call me. And what she did, always, she called me every day.
Roxanne is the much-loved oldest daughter of Liz Harris's 5 children.
Roxanne had a beautiful smile. She had a wonderful personality. She had a very good heart. She would give you the shirt off her back.
Mama, come down here.
Go ahead, Roxanne.
Come down here with me.
I
Get together. Roxanne, come on.
will. Roxanne, jump way out. See rocks right there. You'll hit them. Full of life. She loved her brothers and sisters. She would do anything for them.
We went to the same high school, and everybody knew Roxanne, and they knew us because of Roxanne. We were the Paltoff girls. She was a big sister. She was the one that everybody looked up to.
After some difficult years in high school, Roxanne has become a hard worker with new ambitions.
She started doing her GED, and they had a program where they help you find work, and she got a job as an intern at a florist shop. She was growing up, becoming a young woman, making her own money, meeting new people.
She came in and applied for a job here. She was interested in floral design, and she really blossomed into this beautiful designer, very creative, really talented girl who got along with all of the employees very well.
She had everything lined up. She worked so hard to get where she was. She was back on track. She had got back into school. She wanted to get things right. She wanted to make her mom proud.
On the afternoon of Friday, July 7th, Roxanne calls her mother and asks to spend one more night with her boyfriend Lewis. Roxanne's mom's not thrilled, but knows Roxanne's having a good time swimming and sunbathing before school and work resume on Monday.
And I told her that we're going shopping, and I said, why don't you just come on home and we can leave early in the morning. She goes, no, we're already here, and I'm just gonna stay the night, and I promise I'll be home early in the morning. We'll go shopping. I was disappointed, you're choosing Lewis over your family. I said, okay, fine, be that way, Roxanne. I just had like a little attitude, But she loved him. I mean, that's it. You want to spend time with the ones you love.
Roxanne's mother often thinks back to that conversation and wishes it had gone differently. She also wishes she had listened to her instincts and told Roxanne to just come home that day.
That was actually the last words I said to her before she disappeared, and I've always felt guilty about that.
By noon Saturday, Liz Harris is still waiting for her daughter to come home. She tells herself that Roxanne will walk in at any moment and flash her vibrant smile. But the minutes tick by, and there is still no sign of Roxanne.
We waited around for her, but I don't think we tried calling her. We just thought she just dissed us, that she was spending time with her boyfriend.
I wasn't going to stop our plans just because she didn't make it here. You know, she would have made it home eventually. I'm not going to go calling her and say, where are you? We just went on out to the outlet mall and spent several hours out there. And it was going to be a family adventure, you know. Mom don't have money very often, so let's go shopping, you know.
When they get home later that day, Roxanne's mother Liz and her family get a call, but it's not from Roxanne.
Lewis called me, it was late afternoon, and he had asked me, have you seen Roxanne? And then I said, what do you mean, have I seen Roxanne? She's been with you. Where's Roxanne?
Lewis tells Liz Harris that he hasn't seen her daughter since 8:30 p.m. the previous night.
Well, you told me that they had an argument. She was pissed off because they're arguing over an old girlfriend or something. Roxanne just walked out, and he said that he tried to go after her, you know, beg her to come back into the hotel room, and she refused to do that. And he went out about 20 minutes later, where he last saw her. And she was nowhere around. He said he searched for her and couldn't find her after that. He says he had her purse, and he had her cell phone, and he had her clothing. She left the hotel room with just her clothes on her back and her shoes, and that was it. It sounded like he was concerned, and I knew at that moment, the mother instinct, that I knew something was wrong and my daughter was in danger.
Coming up, police investigate Roxanne's boyfriend and uncover disturbing information.
Roxanne had disclosed that she was scared of him.
Roxanne Paltoff and her boyfriend Lewis Walls have been celebrating their 2-year anniversary together in Austin, Texas. But according to Lewis, after an argument, Roxanne leaves the motel where they had intended to stay the night and doesn't return. The next day, after missing a planned shopping trip with her family, warning bells immediately go off for Roxanne's mother when Lewis calls asking if she has seen Roxanne.
The main thing was that she was not with him, and she hadn't contacted me, and she was supposed to have been home that morning, and things were just going through my head. I just couldn't understand it in my mind why she hasn't called me. And then I found out that she didn't have her cell phone, and she didn't have no money on her, because she left her phone, she left her debit card, she left her purse.
It just didn't make any sense. If you were going to get mad and leave the motel, you would have took your stuff with you.
According to her mother, Roxanne and Lewis have argued in the past, but there's something about her disappearing that deeply concerns her family and friends.
It was unusual that Roxanne didn't call home because she always called. She was responsible about keeping in touch with her family. She had a few close friends, but mainly it was her family.
When we first heard about it, we're like, oh my God, Roxanne's gone, we have to go find her.
Roxanne's family immediately heads to the motel in North Austin where she and Lewis had been staying. It's in a rough neighborhood, known for drugs and prostitution.
I knew of Runberg. Runberg was the area that you knew you just kind of stayed away from, you know. It was a lot of unsavory people, people that you don't want to associate with. I think Roxanne should have known better than that area to be in.
I didn't particularly know that the hotel she was staying at with Lewis was that bad. And it was like the cheapest hotel in the area. That's why they picked it.
And I'd show people pictures, telling them my daughter's missing, I'm trying to find her. And nobody had ever seen her. They didn't know who she was. Lewis and I kept calling back each other that night. And I told them, look, we both need to call the police.
They both call 911, and 3 days after she is last heard from, the Austin Police Department's Missing Persons Unit starts its investigation into the case of Roxanne Paltoff.
Her mother had called and reported her missing, and also Lewis Walls, who was her boyfriend, called and reported her missing. So at the onset, I mean, there was concern that A, where Roxanne went missing from, there's narcotics, prostitution, and B, Roxanne's not the type of person to be missing for an extended period of time without making contact, especially with her mother.
Police turn their attention on the motel. They arrive ready to begin their investigation, but finding a scene to investigate proves problematic.
There were some bookkeeping errors that didn't allow us to ascertain who was in what room, if you will, or even how many tenants were at that hotel, as well as their identities. A lot of the rooms at that hotel that may show to be vacant on paper actually have subjects in them.
According to the motel booking sheet, Roxanne Paltoff had stayed in room 217. Police aren't sure whether the information is accurate, but decide to check it out anyway.
It was very clear upon going to that room that there was going to be no physical evidence available. I think it was roughly 5 to 6 days after her disappearance. The room that she was supposedly in had already been, of course, cleaned 3 or 4 times. Someone else had stayed in it. It was an unsecured scene for too long. Too many people had gone through it.
Next, the police focus their efforts on the area around the motel, talking to people who might have seen or heard something.
The area of Runberg and 35 is essentially a high-crime area. So a lot of the possible witnesses are already involved in some type of criminal activity and therefore would decline to speak with me.
After initially making contact with the police, Roxanne's boyfriend Lewis has recently stopped returning calls. Investigators believe he can shed critical light on the case, since he was the last person to see Roxanne.
We knew we needed to speak to Lewis quickly.
But Roxanne's mother does hear from Lewis. He shows up to return her daughter's belongings 5 days after she went missing.
And he handed me the cell phone. And then I went through her purse. She had some rings in there. She had a toothbrush, her driving book. She had her debit card in there, no ID, and maybe a little bit of makeup. That was all.
Lewis also returns a bag of clothing, but on closer inspection, her family realizes the clothes aren't Roxanne's.
We went through it, and it was clothes I've never in my life seen. And I didn't know Roxanne's clothing, and I've never seen these clothes. What I thought was strange, it wasn't even Roxanne's size. It was like way too small. It was like kid sizes.
I told Lewis, these are not Roxanne's clothes. He goes, well, I just gathered them up off the floor and put them in a bag. I thought they were hers.
In the days following Roxanne's disappearance, the police continue their efforts to speak to Lewis. Roxanne's family feels compelled to go back to the area around the motel. They're hoping to find someone who saw Roxanne leave the Budget Inn on the night of July 7th.
You just search that residential area, the abandoned houses, the ditches, the gullies and the drain storms, dumpsters, knock on people's doors. Have you seen my daughter? Have to tell them the story. You know, my daughter's missing, I'm looking for her.
Their search comes up empty. They decide to zero in on Roxanne's cell phone, thinking it might contain clues. They request her phone records and turn them over to police.
There was over 300 phone calls, page after page after page of phone calls from various places, and then they were like a minute apart, a second apart. You know, there was just a constant calling on her phone.
One number is of particular interest.
There were several phone calls made from Roxanne's phone after she disappeared that were to Lewis's ex-girlfriend in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Police contact the ex-girlfriend and learn disturbing things about Lewis.
She did indicate that Lewis had told her he was in some trouble, he needed to come out there to New Mexico to get away. She declined to have him come to New Mexico. She informed us that she is scared of Lewis, that they had a violent past history together.
Roxanne's family has never been very comfortable with her relationship with Lewis.
He didn't really say much. Whenever I met him, he didn't try to get to know us. Wasn't really friendly, quiet, kind of awkward.
Lewis, he was not allowed to come over to my house. I disapproved of him. You know, no job, no future. Roxanne's running to him all the time. She was trying to go further in her life, and he was just trying to pull her down. And I saw that as a mother.
From the beginning, Roxanne's friends believed that she and Lewis had a volatile relationship.
Roxanne's mother drove by a bus stop and just happened to find Roxanne. She had a busted up nose, so Elizabeth took her straight to the emergency room. And at the time, she had told everybody that she fell or something of that sort, that it was an accident. And then one time during a conversation with her and I, it did come up that he had hit her hard enough in the face, a straight punch, that he broke her nose and she had to have reconstructive surgery on her nose.
We have statements from Roxanne's friends indicating that Roxanne had disclosed to them that Lewis had struck her in the past and that Lewis was very violent when he was angry, and that she indeed was scared of him at times.
Investigators look at the big picture, Lewis's past and the fact that he and Roxanne apparently argued shortly before she went missing, and step up their interest in him.
Anytime someone comes and tells you, I had an argument with someone and now they're missing and I was the last person to see them. I have a violent background. I have a history of being abusive towards the women I date. Lewis was a suspect pretty much immediately.
The police run a background check on Lewis Walls.
Lewis had a series of involvements in small crimes and a conviction for a felony delivery of a controlled substance.
I did not know that he spent time in prison. And I was furious. You know, why is she with this guy that's got this criminal record?
Lewis's police record also reveals personal details that he had previously chosen not to disclose.
When Roxanne and Lewis first met, she was 16 and he was 18 or 19. After she went missing is when we found out his real age. When she was 16, he was really 28.
It was scary. You know, what kind of elements has she gotten herself into?
Roxanne had never been in trouble herself, but her friends and family often worried that she could easily fall in with the wrong crowd.
I think she was gullible. She believed in people. Everybody told the truth. Everybody's nice. Nobody's gonna hurt her. You know, she I don't think, really understood how the world works out there.
She thought she was invincible sometimes. It was just, nobody's gonna do anything to me. It's not gonna happen, you know, and I'm with him, so I'm safe.
What I learned about Roxanne just in talking, especially with her family and her closest friends, is Roxanne played a real good tough girl role, but Roxanne was not savvy. She was not a streetwise person.
Since Roxanne's disappearance 5 days earlier, Lewis Walls has become increasingly harder to contact. Police step up the search to find him, but he continues to be an elusive witness.
We made several requests for Lewis to come in and give us a statement. He declined to come to the police station. We attempted to meet him at places, but he was unavailable. Lewis repeatedly told us that, you know, I've already told you all I know over the phone. I don't know why you need to talk to me in person. He felt like we were trying to put this on him.
Almost 2 weeks after Roxanne's disappearance, Lewis finally agrees to a face-to-face meeting with police.
I went and I picked Lewis up and I brought him in, and he sat down and talked to us. He didn't want to answer any open-ended questions that required, I guess, a lengthy answer on exactly how things unfolded. When we talked to him about the phone calls that were made, yeah, he was mad at Roxanne for walking off, so he called other girls, he flirted with other girls, he called his ex-girlfriend. He indicated, you know, Roxanne understood that. He downplayed the boyfriend-girlfriend role.
Lewis denies any involvement in Roxanne's disappearance. While being questioned, he says there's someone who can confirm that he was still in the motel when Roxanne went missing. A motel employee who maintains that she was with Lewis for the rest of that night.
The young lady indicated that she did see Roxanne leave the hotel and that Lewis was walking behind her, and then Lewis did turn and go back to the room. She did admit that later in the night, she did go to the room and spend some time there with Lewis, and that she left approximately 3 o'clock in the morning.
Based on the phone records, which indicate Lewis made calls between 8:30 p.m. and midnight, and the witness who says she was with Lewis from 10:30 p.m. to 3 in the morning, most of Lewis's time is accounted for.
The subject also indicated that the room was not in disarray. Roxanne's belongings were in the room. Everything seemed to be in order.
But before the police get a chance to polygraph the witness, the case takes an unexpected turn. A man is brought in for questioning in Austin, and he has Roxanne's ID in his wallet. Coming up, the mystery surrounding Roxanne's disappearance deepens.
I think there was some question as to whether she might have been involved in prostitution and or drugs.
Roxanne Paltoff in over a week. Her boyfriend maintains that after they had an argument, she left the motel where they were staying and didn't return. Her friends and family are deeply troubled.
I just couldn't understand it in my mind why she hasn't called me. You know, this was strange. Why hasn't she picked that phone up? And then I found out that she didn't have her cell phone and she didn't have no money on her because she left her phone, she left her debit card, she left her purse.
Searches around the motel area yield no new clues. Roxanne's boyfriend, Lewis Walls, presents a witness from the motel. But before police check out the story, there is a surprising development. 10 days after Roxanne's disappearance, her ID is discovered in the police department's Lost and Found. But how had it come into police possession?
Shortly after Roxanne disappeared, there was a disturbance call at a hotel near the Budget Inn.
A woman there alleges that a man has attempted to sexually assault her in a motel bedroom.
Officers responding to that call encountered a female victim who had been assaulted and stated that the suspect had just left the scene.
But the suspect leaves behind his wallet.
During the course of their investigation at the scene, the suspect returned to the scene.
The man, Jeffrey Moore, is detained and questioned.
No charges were brought. There was an uncooperative victim who declined to press charges. But the patrol officer did discover in this suspect's wallet was Roxanne's identification card.
The officer confiscates Roxanne's ID, but no one knows it belongs to a missing person at the time, because the police do not run a check on it until 4 days later.
When the person who is in charge of mailing back IDs entered the name into the database, of course, Roxanne came up as a missing person, and we were immediately contacted and told that Jeffrey Moore had been in possession of Roxanne's ID.
Investigators are eager to learn more about Jeffrey Moore and how he happened to have Roxanne's ID.
We ran a background check on Jeffrey Moore and did show that he had involvement in criminal activity. However, there were no convictions.
Police track Moore down, and they conduct a telephone interview with the help of an interpreter because Moore is deaf.
He indicated that he had given Roxanne a ride, her and Lewis, the day before Roxanne had disappeared.
Police contact Lewis Walls, who confirms that he and Roxanne did get a ride with Jeffrey Moore the day before Roxanne went missing.
Lewis Walls did indicate that they had gone to the store to buy cigarettes, so Roxanne had had her ID with her, and that she very well could have lost it in the car.
But police say Walls and Moore don't agree on the route they took.
Jeffrey Moore tells me that the ride was from downtown Austin to the Runberg 35 area. Lewis Walls tells me that it's from a Walgreen that is already in the Runberg 35 area back to their hotel.
This is the first inconsistency police note between Lewis Walls and Jeffrey Moore's stories, and they say Moore's account has its own contradictions.
Mr. Moore, in his initial interview on the other assault case, he indicated that Roxanne was a close friend of his, and he would like to retain the ID so that he may give it back to her in person. In an interview with me much later, Mr. Moore indicated that he didn't know Roxanne and that he'd only met her one time. Jeffrey Moore has a plausible reason for having that card, but there's a lot of inconsistencies in both stories. Obviously, they can't both be telling the truth.
Roxanne's family is told that at one point Moore claimed to be a good friend of Roxanne's. but this is news to them.
Roxanne never mentioned having a friend named Jeffrey Moore. She would have had a friend that was deaf. She would have told us. We would have known about him. We knew her friends. We knew who she hung out with.
Unable to confirm Lewis Wall's and Jeffrey Moore's stories, police have nothing to go on.
I mean, I was disappointed because I thought, okay, this guy's got her ID and we're gonna find Roxanne, and that wasn't it.
Police finally polygraphed the woman from the motel who said she was with Lewis the night Roxanne disappeared. She passes, and his alibi checks out. Without enough evidence, the police are left with no leads to pursue, only questions about why Roxanne went missing. One thing starts to become clear to them. She didn't vanish on her own volition.
Roughly 10 days into the case is when it started developing for me that, okay, this person is what we refer to as involuntarily missing. In other words, I don't think that Roxanne is voluntarily absent. I didn't see any of the precursors for runaways or people who intend to be long-term missing. That was not the kind of life that someone would wish to escape.
With Roxanne now missing for 2 weeks, each passing day brings more despair for Roxanne's family.
When it gets silent, it gets eerie, because you just feel like this is the way it's going to be for the rest of my life. We're not going to have no more tips. Roxanne's lost, and nobody cares, and she's just a memory. I started gathering pictures up, her perfume bottle, crosses, just pictures, notes. I just started putting a place together. I believe it was on Roxanne's birthday. It was a birthday present to her. It's a place that I can go to, cry, pray, talk to her. Something I see every day when I come and go.
The family also has to contend with rumors and speculation about Roxanne.
It really hurt me, like, going back to school and just having a bunch of just kids, mean kids, saying their opinion, like, do you really think she's a prostitute? People had no right to come up to me or my siblings saying what they were saying.
I think there was some question as to whether she might have been involved in prostitution and or drugs. More a function of where she disappeared from, because a lot of the street activity and criminal activity in that area is related to prostitution and drugs. But do I think that she actually engaged in any activities like that? I just don't. I don't believe so. It just doesn't fit with the kind of girl she was.
Roxanne wasn't a prostitute. She wasn't an addict. She wasn't the type of person that would normally be in that area. Roxanne, I think, had no problem with being in that area because she felt safe with Lewis Wall. I can't find an instance in Roxanne's life that she was in the Runberg 35 area that Lewis Walls wasn't with her.
Finally, after almost 3 weeks, there's a break in the investigation. The remains of a girl are found near a highway intersection in southeast Austin.
It was, this is it. They found Roxanne's body. This is her. Oh my God, my daughter's dead. What happened to her?
Coming up, the agony as Roxanne's family wait for DNA results.
I was just bawling my eyes out, thinking, oh my God, this is Roxanne. They actually found her. What am I gonna do?
Roxanne Paltoff disappeared in a seedy area of Austin, Texas. The case was at a standstill, until a call comes in to the Austin Police Missing Persons Unit that could change everything.
The police department received a call that human remains had been discovered in the southeast section of Austin. I thought it could be Roxanne.
The police called me and asked me for Roxanne's dental records.
For over 3 harrowing weeks, the Paltoff family waits to see if the DNA from the remains matches Roxanne, never dreaming their lives would include this kind of surreal and terrifying experience.
It hit me hard. I remember being on the phone with my mother, and I was just bawling my eyes out, thinking, oh my God, this is Roxanne. They actually found her. What am I gonna do, Mom? How am I supposed to deal with this?
After a tense wait, the police received the DNA results.
It was discovered that it was indeed not Roxanne.
It was just a very traumatic moment, and it was such a relief. It was such a low that it happened, but it was such a high that it wasn't Roxanne.
Roxanne's family refuses to give up hope. In March 2007, Liz Harris enlists the help of a local advertising agency.
I think I'd seen a billboard on a TV show or on the computer when I was searching missing persons, and I saw a billboard and I wanted a billboard.
The billboard goes up in March 2007, a block away from the Budget Inn where Roxanne was last seen.
The billboard is a big blessing. She's up there 24/7. Thousands of people go down 35 or different areas of town, so she's not forgotten. She's not put away. Her sign is out there, and they see Roxanne. That helps a whole lot.
Over 200 people report having seen Roxanne in Austin, alive.
Elizabeth has a number on the billboard that will go to her. Every tip that is relayed directly to me so that I can follow up. And all those leads have to be tracked down.
This guy called in, told me that he saw my daughter working at a bank in North Austin. So I found out where the bank was. One of the tellers, she looks similar to Roxanne.
Unfortunately, none of those hits give us any credible, concrete leads as to exactly what happened to Roxanne.
1 year later, as the mystery deepens, the case attracts the attention of local journalist Jordan Smith.
Her mother, Elizabeth Harris, had put flyers all over town looking for Roxanne, and you couldn't go anywhere without seeing them. And I was taken by this picture of this girl who seemed to go missing from very strange circumstances. One of the things that's just so tantalizing and so frustrating about Roxanne's case is that all the pieces are there. Nobody's being fully honest about what they know, I don't think, and that's just very frustrating.
And still no sign of Roxanne Paltoff. She was last seen 1 year ago today in North Austin. Today, her family and friends peppered that same area with flyers. They hope it's going to spark someone's memory, lead to new clues, and hopefully lead to Roxanne.
It flew by, to be honest. You couldn't believe that it was already a year without Roxanne. She was there for my birthday when I turned 15. And when I turned 16, she wasn't there. And she was the one who made the cakes, who went with my mom to buy us presents.
Coconut cake.
When that birthday came around, she wasn't there. That's when it really hit home.
Seven months later, the police and Roxanne's grieving family get a solid break in the case. After a witness said Rawls was with her the night of Roxanne's disappearance, police turned their focus away from him. But in March 2008, Walls is back on their radar.
Lewis Walls came back to the forefront of the investigation when his current girlfriend came forward and made the statement that Lewis Walls told her he would harm her and that he had killed a girl before.
Coming up, investigators zero in on who is responsible for Roxanne's disappearance.
I have two violent offenders. I suspect that one of them is hiding a murder.
Years since Roxanne Paltoff vanished outside a motel in a rough area of Austin, Texas. In March 2008, police learned some disturbing news about Roxanne's boyfriend, Lewis Walls, that they think could move the case forward.
Lewis Lewis had gotten into an incident with a woman that he'd been dating who he has a child with. They had met to discuss some child support and child care issues, but instead of talking about that, he ended up threatening this young woman, also another young woman, significantly younger than me, and sort of whispering some things to her that, you know, if she didn't basically behave, that he would do to her what he'd done to Roxanne.
What he had said was that if she did not want to end up like that girl, Roxanne, that she needed to do what he wanted her to do.
If someone threatens harm and the threat is believable, it is viewed as a criminal act.
She had ever the same to you.
Lewis's girlfriend makes a statement to police and is granted a restraining order against him. Lewis is charged with making a terroristic threat and sentenced to 140 days in jail. While incarcerated, police interview Lewis about the claims that he killed Roxanne.
Lewis was very confrontational, and at the point of what he said, he repeatedly told me, I didn't say that, that's not what I said, she's lying, she's just trying to get back at me because I don't want to be with her anymore, she set me up, she just wanted me sent to jail, she had prior knowledge of his involvement with Roxanne's case and was trying to use that against him.
With Walls denying the comment, and no solid evidence against him, police have nothing to go on. Over the course of the investigation, a friendship develops between Roxanne's mother, Liz Harris, and the lead detective on the case, James Scott.
Every Wednesday, I could expect, like clockwork, a call from Elizabeth saying, hey, you know, what's new?
At first, they used to say, this is Elizabeth Harris, Roxanne Paltoff's mother, but now, or just Elizabeth Harris. I hear his voice change immediately. It's not a voice of dread, oh God, here's that mother calling me. It's a voice of disappointment that he hasn't been able to find Roxanne, like he hasn't accomplished what he set out to do.
I try to keep her updated on what I'm doing. You build a relationship with the family. You know, I've met her family, she's met my family. You feel a frustration, a sense of loss. You want to give people that closure. You want to give them the answers they're looking for.
I truly believe in my heart that he is genuine about finding Roxanne and doing whatever it takes to find her.
She's a mother missing a child. She's never going to stop looking. And as a detective, yeah, how can I quit? As long as Roxanne's missing, I have to look for her.
Four years later, the Austin police get a call from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Skeletal remains have been found that match Roxanne's description.
Of course, the significance of Albuquerque, we do know that Lewis Walls made several phone calls to Albuquerque immediately after Roxanne's disappearance to call his ex-girlfriend.
Was it too much of a coincidence?
It was very significant, and it was once again another one of those hold your breath moments. This could be a huge break in this case. This could be finally some closure as far as where is Roxanne.
Detective Scott forwards Roxanne's dental records to the medical examiner in New Mexico, but this time chooses not to share the discovery with Roxanne's mother, Elizabeth.
Until I had a confirmation, I can't put myself in the position of causing her that grief. I don't think that's a roller coaster ride that she needs to go on.
After a week, the dental records show that the remains are not those of Roxanne.
I don't think at this point in time that there's really any hope that Roxanne will be found alive. It just sound 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 alive. It just sound.
Jeremy Ted Alex disappeared on Saturday, April 24th, 2004. When a person disappears without a trace, often the most critical information is hidden in their actions and words from the days before they vanished. Jeremy Alex's last known whereabouts may hold the clues to what happened to him. 28-year-old Jeremy Alex had a carefree approach to life.
He worked to live. He didn't live to work.
As a teen, he followed the Grateful Dead around the country.
He was definitely charismatic and had a sense of humor, and he had that draw.
But just before he disappears, Jeremy is discovered in a terrified state.
Very frightened, saying that people were threatening to hurt him, bad guys were trying to hurt him.
When extensive searches fail to find him, his family is at a loss.
We were questioning whether he was actually lost in the woods or if somebody had done something to him.
They suspect someone is hiding the truth.
And I truly believe that some of those people did know, never came forward.
Is Jeremy the victim of misadventure or foul play?
I've already played that worst-case scenario in my head.
To his family and friends, Jeremy Alex is known as a free spirit who loves music, playing chess, and the great outdoors near his home in rural Belfast, Maine.
Jeremy was a minimalist, and up in Belfast, that's really the way of life. It's a town where all the hippies moved to, and that's just their mantra up there. You know, Jeremy's lived in places that had outhouses and no bathrooms, so growing up in Belfast, he just really always liked the juxtaposition of the ocean and the forest and the woods and the mountains.
In April of 2004, Jeremy's father and stepmother, Ted and Susan Alex, who live in New Hampshire, are making plans to visit Jeremy in Maine and take him out for a belated birthday celebration.
It was his 28th birthday. Ted and I didn't always get up to Belfast as much as we would like, so we called him and left him a kind of a funny message and told him that we would be coming up and that we wanted to take him out.
Once a rebellious teenager, in recent years, Jeremy has rebuilt strong connections with his family.
I saw changes for the positive. He had a share of issues growing up. His parents divorced, you know, he had a stepfather, and I was a stepmother, and, you know, Jeremy was angry during his teenage years, but during his 20s, Jeremy really started to come around.
Ted is used to Jeremy going his own way. He knows his son has a bit of gypsy in his soul.
Jeremy was a free spirit kid, very intelligent, kind of earthy, did what he wanted to do. He lived in, you know, different places in Maine. Also, he lived in California. He traveled around.
Jeremy's stepmother, Susan, came to love Jeremy like a son after she married his dad when Jeremy was 6 years old.
One of the driving pleasures and forces in Jeremy's life is music. He has cases full of CDs that he burned, and one of the bands that he loved was the Grateful Dead. When he was around 17 or 18, he started following the Dead. And for about 2 years, he basically went cross-country in a van following the Dead. And he made his living selling grilled cheese sandwiches out of the back of the van, so Ted and I would always joke that we knew he wouldn't starve to death because he had grilled cheese.
Kathy Langelier is one of Jeremy's closest and oldest friends.
He was extremely welcoming, really kind. You know, right away from when he first met me, I felt really at ease with him, and he had these great smiling eyes. We both loved music, so that was one thing that we instantly clicked with. Grateful Dead and going to shows, so we had that in common. We had environmental concerns that were similar, and our eyes were big, and we wanted to make changes and in our own little ways.
As a child, Jeremy spent his summers with Ted and Susan, but lived most of the year with his mother in Belfast, Maine, a picturesque town of 6,000 plus people on Penobscot Bay. As an adult, it became his home base, the place he always returned to.
I think Jeremy did odd jobs, whatever it took to make a living up in Maine, and I think it's very difficult to make a living up in Maine.
Jeremy was the kind of kid, you know, and I admired this about him. He worked to live. He didn't live to work. So he didn't make a lot of money, but he made enough money to live, and his needs were very simple.
Only 5 feet 7 inches tall, Jeremy is a short guy. Still, his former girlfriend, Suzanne Forkerin, says he could light up a room.
He has an exuberant personality, and, instantly people are attracted and just want to hang out with him because he was fun.
But in the spring of 2004, some of his friends are growing concerned about him. Something seems to be altering his normally cheerful personality.
He definitely was not acting himself. He was paranoid, and I believe he was throwing out accusations, false accusations, because of this paranoia. That, of course, frustrated friends and left a lot of confusion, and he was starting to draw away from people, and he was mistrusting people.
Early on Monday morning, April 26th, Jeremy's dad, Ted Alex, turns his cell phone on. There's a message from Jeremy's phone, but it isn't from Jeremy. It's from the Belfast police.
They said that they had found Jeremy's cell phone, his keys, his van, and they were in the process of searching for him. When they found his cell phone, they basically saw Dad, called my number, left me a message.
Ted and Susan are mystified. They know their son is about to move into a new house in Northport, a village just outside of Belfast, with his girlfriend Suzanne. Jeremy's stepmother calls her right away.
It was probably about 7 a.m. She said the Belfast Police Department called. She said that they have his cell phone and they had found his van, and they won't tell her anymore.
Suzanne got upset about it, and she seemed more upset than I was, which sort of upset me, and she was going to go over to the police station when we hung up, which she did.
Suzanne has reason to be upset. She knows something Ted and Susan do not. Suzanne last saw Jeremy Saturday morning, 2 days earlier.
I thought he was gonna pop a vein right then because he was huffing, puffing, and he wasn't in his right mind. He was disoriented and saying the bad guys were after him. He was like, the bad guys are after me.
Jeremy has been staying at their new house in Northport, getting it ready for the two of them to move into. On her way to the police station, Suzanne stops there. It is evident that Jeremy made it back there after his outburst on Saturday morning.
But when I got to the house, the door was open with the keys in the lock, and all the furniture he had moved was already in the house.
But there is no sign of Jeremy.
I hurried into Belfast to talk to the police, see what's going on, and when I got there, they told me nobody had seen him since Saturday afternoon. And it's like white just washes over you, and it's like weird. It's a weird feeling.
Coming up, an encounter with a desperate and disturbed Jeremy.
He was, according to the witnesses, hallucinating, in a panic, not acting normal, very frightened.
On Sunday, April 25th, 2004, police investigate an unlocked van parked in a small, secluded area of Northport, Maine. They find Jeremy Alex's cell phone, registration, and keys inside. They see a message on the phone from Ted Alex, Jeremy's father, and call him. Ted and his wife Susan immediately leave for Northport, Maine.
At first, we just thought, he was lost in the woods. I mean, obviously he had disappeared, but, maybe he had just got lost in the woods up there.
It was shocking, but at the same time, you don't really think anything horrific at that point. You just think something's not right, and you drive up hoping that, it's some sort of misunderstanding.
Meanwhile, Jeremy's girlfriend, Suzanne Forkerin, thinks back over events of the last few days. Events Jeremy's parents know nothing about. Jeremy and Suzanne have been together for more than 3 years. They met through mutual friends in Belfast, and she later followed him to a landscaping job in New York State.
I felt a draw to him and somehow knew before that we were going to be together.
There was this really strong bond between the two of them, and I think a lot of it had to do with that they were such good friends. It was a beautiful evolution to watch their relationship.
At first, Suzanne is attracted to the way Jeremy treats people, and that he is a straight-up guy.
He wasn't smoking cigarettes, he wasn't drinking, he wasn't smoking. And, you know, which to me, I was like, wow, that's cool, you know? It was straight edge almost.
But after they return to Maine, that changes. Belfast, like many rural communities, has problems with drugs. She discovers Jeremy is not immune to their attractions.
It was really weird because he wouldn't use all the time. Like every 6 months, he would go on like a weekend binge and I'd be, I'll just keep it out of my face. I don't want to know.
Recently, she says, Jeremy's drug use has become more frequent. The last happy day Suzanne and Jeremy spend together is Thursday, April 22nd. They travel to Sugarloaf Mountain in Jeremy's van.
And we went snowboarding. It was actually a really fun day. We all had fun. It was getting warm because it was in April, but there was still snow and slushy.
When they get home late in the afternoon, Jeremy seems eager to separate for the night, saying he is busy moving their things into their new house. But Suzanne is suspicious.
I imagined, okay, he's probably going to go on a binge. And so I'm kind of stubborn. Like, once I get my feelings hurt, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to call him. He's going to do what he's going to do. He can call me when he's done.
It is Saturday morning before she sees Jeremy again. When he arrives at her house, he is angry and accusatory.
He said, you and 2 other mutual friends of ours were outside my house last night with ski masks. And I'm all, what? That's when I realized it was cocaine because he wasn't in his right mind. I could tell when he started talking like that. I just started crying and I went into my room. You know, it was overwhelming. I'm sad and I'm in there crying.
Just as abruptly, Suzanne says, Jeremy's manner changes and he tries to comfort her and apologizes.
And he came into my room and he's like, I'm really sorry. If you need to talk, you know where I'll be.
But when she joins him downstairs as he loads up some furniture to take to their new house, he is distant and ignores her pleas to tell her what's wrong.
And I'm like, you know what? He needs to go home, sleep it off for a couple days, and I'll talk to him, you know, in a couple days because this is not going anywhere.
It is 5:20 p.m., Saturday evening, hours after Suzanne last sees Jeremy, when a woman in a house off Pound Hill Road in Northport is startled by a young man erupting from the woods into her yard. She calls her husband over. The woman recognizes Jeremy Alex from his student days at Belfast High School, where she used to work.
She actually recognized Jeremy.
He looks agitated and is clutching cash in his hand.
The husband went over, saw that Jeremy was in a distressed condition.
He was, according to the witnesses, hallucinating, in a panic, not acting normal, very frightened.
Holly Edwards, editor of The Village Soup, was a reporter covering Jeremy's disappearance in 2004.
The circumstances as to how the eyewitnesses encountered Jeremy was the most unusual thing. He was saying that people were threatening to hurt him, bad guys were trying to hurt him.
He said that somebody was after him, someone was going to kill him. At that point, Jeremy offered the money that he had in his hand to the man if that person would let him go.
The couple doesn't know what to make of Jeremy's story. They try to calm him down, but when the woman goes to call 911, he panics.
He refused to stay with them even though they were going to try to get him help. And they sort of took off in a panic, running again.
The couple reports the incident and identifies the young man to police as Jeremy Alex. As the weekend unfolds, nobody else sees or hears from Jeremy.
For 2 days, I just thought he was home sleeping it off, and being stubborn and not calling him, and in all reality, he wasn't even at home. He was wherever he was.
On Sunday, the police go through Jeremy's van, parked near the house where he was last seen, and call Jeremy's father, Ted Alex. By the time Ted and Susan Alex arrive, it is Monday afternoon.
Everything was just, as if, you know, he got out of the van and planned on coming back.
Jeremy's girlfriend Suzanne and some of his other friends are already there and have been searching the neighboring woods on their own.
The woods in Maine are kind of treacherous. It's not like you're just walking to the park. You know, you're kind of stumbling and trying to get through the woods and not get scratched up. And so, you know, we just yelled and looked and was hoping that we would see him or something.
It was such a bizarre scenario. It was confusing. You know, there were certain key things that Jeremy wouldn't normally leave behind, and he had, and I'm not sure why he was there.
It's stressful. It's a stressful feeling. Worry. People are starting to worry.
Ted Alex is concerned, but he is also still optimistic that Jeremy will be found soon. Yet he knows that his son will not be able to survive many more of Maine's cold April nights without shelter. He is comforted, knowing that a full-scale search led by the Maine Warden Service, and including canine units and volunteers, is scheduled to take place the next day.
All the dogs and some of the searchers have tracking devices on them. They'll search a grid area. After the search, everything will be downloaded in a computer. They'll look at areas that might not have been searched, research them, and then go to the next grid area.
However, the extensive search fails to turn up any signs of Jeremy. Police accounts of his strange encounter with the couple in Northport have already reached his family and his girlfriend Suzanne. Suzanne remembers Jeremy telling her that he thought people were after him. At the time, she thought his paranoia was due to drugs. But now, she begins to wonder.
Maybe there was somebody after him, like, you know, because he mentioned it to me, he mentioned it to his friends, and he also mentioned it to the lady and the man that tried to help him at the end. Is that in his mind or from the drug use, or is it actually, was it really happening?
Maybe what he was saying was in fact true and it wasn't a hallucination. It was really what caught our interest and caught the community's interest.
News accounts of the search bring tips. A motorist tells police that a man resembling Jeremy crossed Route 1 on foot ahead of her on the Saturday evening he disappeared. When she passed him, she spied him in the rearview mirror, crossing back over the road again.
Where he was headed to is anyone's guess. You know, whether he was trying to get back home, whether he was oriented enough to try to get back home, it's hard to tell what he was thinking.
On Wednesday, April 28th, Jeremy's stepmother, now overcome with worry, vents her frustration on some of Jeremy's friends and acquaintances in the search party.
I literally said, if you know something, this is becoming life and death for Jeremy. If he's out there, it's cold, we don't have a lot of time. If he's not and something bad happened to him, you have to let us know. No one said anything.
Coming up, secrets are revealed.
I did try and hide the fact that there was drug use.
And suspicions grow.
We're questioning whether he was actually lost in the woods or if some...
Jeremy Alex's strange disappearance makes headlines in Maine as soon as the official search begins.
In the beginning, they were absolutely just looking for someone who was in some sort of distress and then might have become hurt, lost in the woods. That part of Northport, there's not a lot of houses. They're few and far between, and so it'd be very easy to get lost in the woods there. So I think it was just truly treated as a missing person, an unusual missing person in how it all came about, but really just as a missing person.
Ted Alex pursues every avenue he can to find his son.
He stepped in, and he's a kind of in-charge type person, kind of like Jeremy.
I rented a helicopter for 12:30, and we're going to go up and look some more.
And he was doing everything that he could do, because the time is critical, and it had already been 2 days before we even heard that he had disappeared.
Ted and Jeremy's stepmom stay in close touch with Suzanne, since she knows the community and was one of the last people to see Jeremy.
Susie was our connection with these friends of Jeremy's. We were just fish out of water up there.
Suzanne obviously had an insight to days before the event, which we didn't have. She had spent time with Jeremy. She knew his mindset, what he had been doing, where he had been.
Originally, Suzanne had tried to cover up Jeremy's drug use.
I did try and hide the fact that there was drug use because I was like, if he's found, I don't want him to get in trouble, you know?
When she first learned from police that Jeremy was missing, she went to the house they were moving into in Northport and cleaned up, flushing drugs down the toilet. That information comes as a shock to Jeremy's family.
We knew that he smoked pot, but never, heroin and cocaine. And that's what Susie had found and flushed down the toilet was, heroin and cocaine.
Those drugs obviously took their toll on him. Paranoid is a word that we heard a lot about his behavior the last 2 or 3 days. There probably were people that he was dealing with that were, unscrupulous, not the kind of people that you want your kid hanging around with.
A friend of Jeremy's tells the Alexes that she spent Friday night, the night before Jeremy disappeared, doing drugs with him at the house in Northport.
They had stayed up most of Friday night. They were doing cocaine and they were doing heroin. She left Saturday morning. When she left, she, was concerned that Jeremy should stop.
I finally did tell the police, okay, I went to his house and I tried to get rid of the evidence of drug use. And it got really overwhelming, and one of the state police or state detectives, he had me outside and he was just questioning me, like, you need to tell me where he got his drugs. They could have a bullet in his head.
It was a double-edged sword for the police department because, there were drugs involved and they needed to deal with that.
Once the police began looking into the drug connection, Jeremy's family says many of his friends seemed to shy away from speaking to them.
I think they all cared about Jeremy gone missing, but I think they had hesitation when it came to giving information to the police.
Meanwhile, the efforts to find Jeremy continue. A second official search begins on May 2nd, 8 days after Jeremy was last seen. Friends cling to the hope that the wood-savvy Jeremy knows how to survive in the wild.
Jeremy was an extremely resourceful individual and clever, very clever. I think he could have survived, absolutely. Yes, I do.
He knew a lot about making fires. He could live out in the outdoors for a while.
But the search turns up no signs of him. Hopes for finding Jeremy alive in the woods begin to fade.
As the days went on and there were cold nights, we knew that it was inevitable that he wouldn't be alive. I mean, if he was still in the woods.
Perhaps Jeremy isn't in the woods. Could Jeremy, who's known to pick up and go on a whim, actually be somewhere far from Belfast, Maine?
There was always in our mind a question whether he was actually, a little bit like, okay, maybe he just took off.
Then, investigators get a lead from another motorist who saw Jeremy as she was driving on Pound Hill Road the afternoon he disappeared. She told police he was talking to two men in a red pickup truck.
That was a truck of interest. The police talked about it, and we were hopeful that it meant something.
The area where Jeremy's van was found in Northport, we subsequently learned was a place that was commonly used for drug activity. It's isolated, but it's easy to get to.
So they don't know if he went to this place to meet somebody.
The two guys, in my mind, sort of bolstered Jeremy's story that people might have been after him.
Months go by with no other leads. Then, in September of 2004, 5 months after Jeremy disappears, there is one final search over the terrain around Northport. The searchers find nothing. With the coming winter, the official searches will end. By now, Ted and Susan suspect that Jeremy is lost not to the woods, but to foul play.
As the time progressed, we were questioning whether he was actually lost in the woods or if somebody had done something to him.
Maybe he owed money to somebody, maybe they owed money to him. I don't know, but if you put 2 and 2 together, that's sort of what you come up with.
Coming up, the case is about to go cold when a stranger comes forward with tantalizing new information about Jeremy.
He said that he had Jeremy's license and he had is money. You know, you kind of think about how could this possibly be? It's been 4 years.
In the days after 28-year-old Jeremy Alex disappeared under mysterious circumstances in 2004, hopes were high that he would be found in the woods into which he was last seen fleeing. But months and 3 extensive searches later, those hopes die.
To have someone disappear, it's definitely unusual in any community, but I think that the circumstances surrounding how Jeremy appeared and then disappeared is what is really stymied the entire community.
From their home in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, Jeremy's father, Ted, and stepmother, Susan, continue to monitor their son's case, poring over maps of the area where he went missing. The couple do what they can to keep Jeremy's disappearance in the public eye, putting up posters promising a reward, which rises to $20,000.
The family was really good about keeping the media spotlight on as much as they possibly could. They had a website, and they made regular contact with us.
There wasn't a lot to do, but put posters out and talk to people. We would just go through and put these posters, you know, wherever we could.
The posters generate tips, some of them very disturbing.
There were a lot of rumors going around of foul play. Jeremy was killed, thrown in a granite quarry. I'd go up and search the quarries. Somebody heard that Jeremy was killed and buried or thrown in a well. We just followed the tips that I would get on the phone, unrelated to what the police were, you know, dealing with.
But Jeremy remains missing. Months after he disappears, his girlfriend Suzanne has a vivid dream that the two of them are together once more.
We were hugging, and it just felt so real, and so like the energy, and he actually is like, well, I have to say goodbye now. And then when I woke up, it felt like I'd really just been talking to him and hugging him. And it was pretty intense.
Jeremy's family and friends struggle with a sense of hopelessness. And then, almost 6 months after Jeremy's disappearance, there is a tantalizing new development. Tips come in that a young man resembling Jeremy has appeared out of the woods in another part of Maine.
There were some unusual sightings in Owl's Head, which is about a half an hour south of Northport, straight down Route 1. 2 people had reported seeing this person come out of the woods, not saying anything, looking very disheveled, and they swore that this was Jeremy, that it looked exactly like Jeremy.
Wayne Drinkwater owns a soup and sandwich shop in Belfast. He says he sees the young man on property he owns near Owl's Head.
I had seen the posters of Jeremy, but it looked just like Jeremy. And I asked him his name, and he didn't seem to be there. He didn't seem to respond. And I came back to Belfast, and I called the sheriff. And I said, I think I found Jeremy.
But when police pursue the lead, it turns out to be another dead end.
There just happens to be someone who looks very much like Jeremy, who has some mental health issues.
In a cruelly ironic twist, the lookalike's name is also Jeremy. He has been lost in the woods briefly after wandering away from his family. After the disappointment of the false Jeremy Alex sightings, Ted asks the Maine State Police to get involved. In 2006, more than 2 years after Jeremy's disappearance, they launch a special search of a local pond.
On August 25th, 2006, we found out that the state police were going to do a search at a pond called Knight's Pond in Northport.
Someone had got arrested and told the police that her boyfriend or whatever said that he had killed Jeremy and threw him in Knight's Pond.
According to our information, they had gotten a tip that they should look in Knight's Pond, and they did. They sent a diver and searched the pond and didn't find anything.
2 more years pass by with no apparent headway in the case. Then, in August of 2008, an intriguing new lead comes to Jeremy's dad. At first, he is suspicious.
Offering the reward, unfortunately, brought out some people that just were calling for the reward. So I, was really wary of this one email I received, one day from a gentleman that said that he had Jeremy's license and he had his money. You kind of think about how could this possibly be? It's been 4 years.
The email comes from Jim Baker, a retired California Highway Patrol officer who owns a restaurant in Searsport, Maine, just outside of Belfast. He hasn't followed the Jeremy Alex saga closely.
The one time that I think I can clearly remember reading or seeing something about it was a poster that was in the gas station with his picture on it. And it basically had his name and that he was missing. But I really didn't know much more about it other than that.
The story of how he comes to be in possession of Jeremy's driver's license and money is stranger than fiction. It begins on a night in April 2004, shortly after Jeremy goes missing.
My best friend that lived across the bay from us, Tim Dougal, he came in one night, started talking to me about how he had hit the big time or hit the jackpot because money was washing up on his beach. He and his wife had been out beachcombing like they did a lot of times and had started to find small denomination bills amongst the rocks, and he had pulled out a small wad of bills. I remember joking with him, telling him, well, you're buying drinks for everybody tonight. And he said, no. We collect stuff on the beach and we keep it. And so he put it back in his pocket. And that was the end of that for quite some time.
On April 23rd, 2008, almost 4 years to the day after Jeremy Alex disappeared, Jim's friend Tim is killed in a freak accident at his oceanfront property. When his widow Debbie returns to the weekend getaway, months later, she asks Jim to come over.
She started to relate the story about finding the money on the beach. And I remember asking her, you guys saved that money? And she says, oh yeah, it's all in there, buried under some sea glass, and along with the driver's license that we had found at the same time. It kind of caused me to pause, and I don't know if it's my background or what it was, but I instantly had this strange feeling. And I said, did you guys ever contact anybody or anything? She said, no, we really didn't, think about it.
Inside a glass vase, buried in a collection of sea glass and other objects, Jim Baker finds the money and the driver's license.
I looked at it and saw Jeremy's face and his name, and I instantly remembered that poster. And I said to her, I said, Debbie, I think this is a kid that went missing a couple years ago or so.
Coming up, an important new clue shifts the search for Jeremy from the woods to the water.
A body would just be carried out straight down that channel right out into the ocean.
You would rather know than not, even if it's the worst case scenario.
Since Jeremy Alex went missing. Now, former Highway Patrol officer Jim Baker holds an important piece of the puzzle, his driver's license. Jim visits internet sites about Jeremy Alex and confirms that the license must have belonged to Jeremy and that he is still missing. He notifies the authorities.
I basically told him, look, this is who I am, where I live, and this is what I found. I think somebody needs to call me. In the meantime, nobody called me back for a while, and so I sent Ted an email with the same information.
Days later, the license and money that were first found on the beach in April of 2004 are in the hands of the state police.
The best that we could determine was probably within a couple of days of his disappearance. That's when they started to find the stuff on the beach. Jeremy was last seen with some money in his hand and then took off in the direction of the coast and in the general direction of Tim and Deb's house.
For Ted, it is one more terribly ironic twist.
We were in that neighborhood searching. We put posters up on the street where they lived. They just never put two and two together that this could possibly be a lost person. And that's the sad part about it, because 4 years, there's not a lot of evidence, even if there was other things washed up on shore.
Ted goes back to the area and searches the rocky beach where Jeremy's license and money were found. For months, he returns, looking for another sign or clue that might lead him to Jeremy.
You know, if he was running towards the beach and towards the cliffs, disoriented, not sure where he was, frightened, whatever, you know, is it possible that he went off the cliff into the water?
But 4 years later, there is no further trace of Jeremy to be found here. These days, life in Belfast, Maine goes on pretty much the same as it always has. Historic houses grace the heights above the waterfront. Lobster fishermen ply the waters of Penobscot Bay alongside pleasure boats. Shops and restaurants cater to tourists who are just passing through. There's still just one stoplight in the center of town. The only late-night bar attracts the same loyal locals it has for decades. And Jeremy Alex is still missing.
We've had a missing poster since we got the first one in 2004, days afterwards. And when it starts to wear out from the sun, we print another one out. The family's been pretty good about, sending us updates.
Ted calls, the police that are working on it and, may occasionally talk to them, but there hasn't been probably any movement, and at least that we know of, in maybe a year and a half, 2 years, and that's a long time.
The Maine State Police say they don't publicly discuss open cases.
The police have not shared with us directly any theories. I think that they believe, as the family does, that something bad has happened to Jeremy. It's still very much an open case to them.
Ted and Susan are divorced now. They say they're still close and united in their efforts to do anything they can to find Jeremy. Their biggest hope is that people who have been reluctant to offer information in the past might be willing to speak today, at least anonymously, to put their minds at rest.
And I truly believe that some of those people did know, never came forward. And we've tried. We've gone back up there, we've tried going to their houses, we've tried pleading with them just to let us know it would be anonymous, but nothing.
Jeremy's friend Kathy shares that hope.
I want to feel that somebody knows something. It hurts. I miss him. I loved him very much. And I'm going to always miss him.
Noting the extensive searches for Jeremy, which turned up nothing, Susan and Ted both say they now believe Jeremy is a victim of foul play. They think he was involved with some shady people over drugs and became their victim.
I don't think Jeremy's in the woods. I think he's in the ocean, finding his license, wash up in money. I think he was running, and whoever was chasing him caught him, and they took him out and did something to him and dropped the body.
Jim Baker believes that Jeremy may have fallen from the cliffs onto the rocks and been swept out to sea.
I've talked to people that have spent a lot of years up here on the water, and they don't find it.
Tony Lee Sharpless disappeared on Sunday, August 23, 2009. When a person disappears without a trace, often the most critical information is hidden in their actions and words from the days before they vanished. Tony Lee Sharpless's last known whereabouts may hold the clues to what happened to her. A nurse and mother struggles to put her demons behind her.
She's trying to further her education. She has a daughter to come home to.
When a night on the town brings unforeseen consequences,
that's when the situation just turned crazy.
Tony Lee Sharpless drives into the night.
I keep thinking, is she okay? Is she in her right mind? Because I don't know where she's at.
But where has she gone?
They did locate a number of cars under the water there.
Or is she being held against her will?
I got a flash, and I yelled at the television. She's very much alive.
It's summer 2009. 29-year-old Tony Lee Sharpless is working at Lancaster General Hospital in Pennsylvania. Tony is a nurse Specializing in infectious diseases, she enjoys working as a caretaker immensely, despite the long hours and challenges of the job.
She loved nursing, loved it. I think she liked the challenge of figuring out what was wrong with people and helping them and then seeing them get back on their feet. And she made a lot of friends, patients and other nurses.
When Tony is not at work, she spends most of her time at home, caring for her 12-year-old daughter. Tony became a mother when she was 17 years old. She has always been extremely devoted to raising her child.
When Tony got pregnant, we never really discussed whether she was too young or not. She just said she wanted to keep this child, and she said, I will do anything that I have to do to support this child.
Between being a mother and working full-time, Tony keeps very busy. But Tony didn't always have such a good handle on things.
The first time that Tony had a breakdown, she was approximately 19 years old, 19 or 20. She called me at home. She said, I can't stop crying, Mom. I don't know what's wrong with me. And that's when the first time she had went into the hospital.
Over the next several years, Tony is repeatedly hospitalized. But the doctors are unable to diagnose her condition.
When she would have the crying spells, it could last a day, maybe 3. It was very hard for me as a parent to see her going through this, and I didn't know what to do. She would drink occasionally. I think that was to self-medicate. There was one incident where she totaled her car. After that accident, she was adamant. She said, I will never do that again.
In 2004, during another hospital stay, the source of Tony's problems is finally identified. She is suffering from a bipolar disorder. With a diagnosis in hand, Tony is prescribed medication and she begins to take control of her life. In 2005, she enrolls in nursing school, and she and her daughter move in with her parents in Downingtown, Pennsylvania.
She was working full-time and going to school full-time. She was very determined. If she wanted something, she set a goal, she went for it, and she made sure she completed it.
Tony finds work immediately upon graduation. It seems her darkest days are behind her, until again, she has another relapse.
In March of 2009, she was having like manic attacks and depression. Manic is where the person doesn't sleep. They just constantly go, 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 and they just talk, talk, talk. And then they start to imagine things because they're not getting this proper sleep that they should be getting.
Tony asks her family to take her to a rehabilitation center where she can be treated for her psychiatric problems. Crystal Johns, an old friend of Tony's from high school, also accompanies her.
When I took her to the rehab, I didn't recognize that person. That wasn't a person I was familiar with.
Tony stays at the hospital for 3 weeks, but when she is released, Tony has a new prescription and appears much improved.
Tony's behavior was like night and day from the day that I took her in to literally just a couple weeks later when she came out. You could tell whatever they did in there with the therapy and the proper medication definitely was going to be a huge help for her.
I think that she felt that the doctors had finally got it right. I felt very relieved because I thought, well, now she's on the right track and hopefully this will, stay the same for a long period of time. She was like a whole new person.
But Tony's new treatment plans require some hard changes in her lifestyle.
Because she did like to drink, and you're not supposed to drink on that kind of medication. So in order to avoid going in those types of places, I would just do things with her that were different, that didn't involve that.
Six months after being released from rehab, Tony is back at work. On the morning of Saturday, August 22nd, she finishes a night shift at Lancaster General and stops by her sister Candy's house on her way home.
She came to my house that morning right off of work. She helped me clean and spent some time with my kids. We sat outside on my front porch and was talking for a while. She ended up leaving to go pick up her daughter, get showered and ready. We were all going to go shopping.
Her friend Crystal joins them. She hasn't seen Tony since the night she took her to the hospital.
She seemed like she was back on the ball. She seemed like the Tony I know. Or like I would call her Sister Tone Bone. She seemed like the Tone Bone we knew. Like nothing was ever wrong.
The women spend the entire day together catching up. As the evening approaches, Crystal invites Tony to go out with her that night.
While we were shopping, I received a phone call from a friend of mine, Matt Green, and he said he was in the area and would I like to hang out later on that evening, which I then asked Tony, would you like to join me? Because I wanted to spend time with her as well.
Although Tony hasn't slept since she worked the night before, she excitedly accepts Crystal's invitation.
Oh, she never went to sleep right away, and if she knew she was going to be off that night, she would stay up all day long and then go to sleep that night. She goes, I haven't been out in a long time. So she got dressed, got ready to go, and as she was leaving, she gave me a hug and a kiss.
Her sister Candy is also invited, but she declines the invitation and can't help but feel some concern for her sister.
I was kind of surprised that she was going out because I knew that she was trying to steer clear of clubs, but I knew that she hadn't been out in months, like probably a good half a year at that point, to where, you know, she wanted to go out, have a good time, spend time with her friend, and just go dancing.
I spoke to Matt, and he said he was in Old City at the G Lounge, and we agreed to meet him there since it wasn't too far from where we were.
When Tony and Crystal arrive at the G Lounge, they receive special treatment. Crystal's friend Matt is the brother of Willie Green, a professional basketball player on the Philadelphia 76ers.
When we went to the G Lounge, we got into the VIP. We just had a couple of glasses of champagne and danced. Tony, she was on the dance floor more than I was. We mingled, we met a lot of people, a couple celebrities, and that was it. We had a good time. It was almost like the most perfect night ever. Almost.
As another round of drinks is ordered, Tony doesn't seem to have any trouble keeping up with the others.
We were definitely drinking Don P. I prefer Grey Goose and pineapple. We had a few of them. We took a couple of shots that the waitresses were bringing around. Tony, she just seemed great. We had such a good time, and that's all we kept talking about. It's how fun of a time we were having, and we didn't want it to end, and the time came too quick.
When the club closes at 2 a.m., Willie invites the group to his house in Gladwin, a suburb outside of Philadelphia.
And I discussed it with Tony, and she was like, yeah, because we weren't ready for the night to end, so we decided to go.
At Willie's house, the socializing continues with a drinking game and then a late-night dip in the swimming pool.
Everybody was outside but Tony. When I dove into the pool and I came up, they said, your girlfriend is in there yelling something. So I immediately went into the house and said, what's going on? And I didn't really understand what was wrong with her, but I could tell that her pupils were dilated and that she was very intoxicated. I don't know if it hit her at that moment, but it was definitely time to go. Her behavior had changed.
Crystal tries to calm her friend down, but it seems that a switch has been flipped. Tony becomes very aggressive.
Everybody else came in to see what the commotion was, and that's when the situation just turned crazy. Tony came out and said things and was yelling profanities, and she went inside Mr. Green's basement and slammed the door, kicked the chair, a couple different things. I never seen Tony act this way before. I was embarrassed. I didn't understand why she was acting like this. I didn't know how to handle the situation. I thought the best situation would be to leave.
Crystal says that Willie has also had enough. He asks the two women to go, but Tony insists on driving.
She grabbed the car keys and said, I'm driving. She was telling everybody it's her car and she was driving, and if I wanted to go home, that I would get in the car with her. They asked me, are you sure you want to get in the car with her? And I said, we came together, we leave together.
But once they are in the car, Crystal says that Tony becomes even more irate.
We got maybe 2 houses down the road, and she slammed on the brakes, and she said some things to me in reference that I was laughing with them. I just think the liquor kicked in and she was just a little paranoid maybe. I don't know exactly what she was thinking at that point. I was confused. I was like, we're gonna go home and laugh about it tomorrow, you know? That's what I thought.
But Crystal is unable to calm Tony down. Tony orders her from the car, and Crystal finally gives in.
I just thought, let me get out the car. She'll come back for me.
As soon as Crystal steps outside, Tony speeds away into the darkness.
I never thought she wouldn't come back.
Coming up, what was happening to Tony that night?
The combination of everything may have been making her act not in her right.
A long night out on the town. 29-year-old Tony Lee Sharpless seems to lose control. Her belligerent behavior gets her and her friend Crystal kicked out of a small gathering in Gladwin, Pennsylvania. Crystal is glad to be going home, but suddenly, Tony demands that she exit the car and speeds away.
She knew I didn't know these people, that we were so far from home, like 40 miles. Why would you leave me? I didn't think she was that upset, and especially not at me.
It's 5 o'clock in the morning. Crystal finds herself in an unfamiliar neighborhood, a long way from home.
I could still see the guys from the party yelling for me to come back, and I was so embarrassed that I just put my hand up and said, I'm fine. I started walking towards the direction that she had went, thinking that she would come back for me. So then I called Tony's phone. She didn't answer, and I called again, and it was obvious that she had turned the phone off. It was scary, it was dark, there's no street lights, and I had no clue exactly where I was. I thought how angry I was. How could she leave me? I don't know. I just hoped that she was gonna come back for me. That was the initial feeling.
Crystal continues trying to reach Tony without luck while she walks to the expressway that they took to get there.
I sat on the side of the road, so if she came back, that I would just be sitting waiting for her. I was so far from the development that I left, I didn't even know what house I came out of. That's when the reality kicked in, and that's when I began to cry. I was scared. I was scared for my life.
Crystal is eventually able to reach a nephew who agrees to make the 40-minute drive to come pick her up. On the way home, Crystal tries calling Tony's sister Candy to tell her about their train wreck of a night.
When I got up in the morning and saw that I had missed texts and phone calls, voicemails from her, I'm like, okay, what's going on?
Candy is surprised to hear about Tony's strange behavior. She calls over to her parents' house to make sure her sister is all right. But Tony has not come home.
We thought, well, maybe her being so tired because she had stayed up so long would have pulled the car off the side of the road and taken a nap, but she would have called or texted myself, her sister, or her daughter, and she didn't do any of those.
Candy and Crystal are worried. They know that Tony hadn't slept for over 36 hours and had been drinking. They wonder if it's possible that Tony has had some sort of accident.
I called all the local prisons to see if she happened to get a DUI.
Check with hospitals, things of that nature, see if there was a car accident. Nothing all day. I had tried calling Tony, I had tried texting her, no response. And being a close-knit family, I know she would have called one of us by then. So now, red flags are going up, something's wrong. Where's she at?
By nightfall, neither Candy nor Crystal has made any progress in finding Tony. Crystal can't bear it any longer and contacts the police.
I called the West Brandywine Police Station, spoke to Officer Moore. He informed me that usually a family member calls, and I said, well, her family doesn't want to jump the gun at this time, but something doesn't sit right with me. I was the last person with her. I want to know where she is.
Candy agrees to go down to the police station to file the missing persons report for her sister.
It was nerve-wracking to report her missing. I'm still at this point like, this isn't really happening. Like, I'm doing this for nothing, but if I don't do it and it really is an issue, I would feel terrible. So I just got to file it to be on the safe side. That way we can get the word out and see what's going on.
As Officer Russell Moore takes down Tony's details, some of the information that Candy tells him gives him pause.
She did mention that Tony had had a couple cases of where she had attempted suicide, which did concern me that this could be another attempt.
Tony's family, however, stresses that Tony loves her life and has no reason to want to end it.
She's trying to further her education. She has a daughter to come home to. We're a very close family.
She was happy. She loved her job and things were going good and her medicine was working well, so she was very excited.
Still, Officer Moore wonders how the mix of alcohol with Tony's medication may have affected her.
There is some concern that the alcohol with the medication, as well as her mental health issues, the combination of everything may have been making her act not in her right mind.
Crystal is also worried. As she replays the last night over in her head, she realizes she has seen Tony in this condition once before.
The night reminded me of the time when we were checking her into rehab. She wasn't in a right state of mind. I know that Tony wasn't psychologically stable, that she had issues with that in the past, and, you know, maybe I should have kept a closer eye on her. Maybe I shouldn't have drunk with her, you know? But her family was aware we were going out. We went there before we left. Obviously, if we're going to a club, we're going to consume some alcohol. If that wasn't a good idea, I wish somebody would have told me. I would have babysat her more, you know? I would try to.
Officer Moore enters Tony's personal data and vehicle description into the National Crime Information Center database. He also contacts the Lower Merion Police Department, whose jurisdiction includes Gladwin, where Tony was last seen.
Typically, the car would have been the greatest link for us in an investigation like this. If anybody stopped that car, we would have been notified, and West Brandywine would have been notified.
But Tony's car seems to have vanished just as she has. Police turn next to Tony's phone records.
I called Tony's cell phone carrier. The last contact with the cell phone tower was at 4:53 in the morning. The cell phone tower itself services Lower Merion, where she went missing. After that, we cannot tell where she would have gone.
But Officer Moore is able to identify the last time Tony used her phone, 2:57 a.m., when Tony was leaving the nightclub and on her way to Willie Green's house. It's a text message from Tony to her daughter, who had contacted her mother when she could not fall asleep.
The last thing that came off of my daughter's Tony's phone was a text to her daughter at 3 o'clock in the morning because her daughter couldn't sleep that night. Her mom said to her, "Honey, I'll be home soon, get some sleep." That was the last text, the last activity on that phone.
For Donna, Tony's last text message sounds more like the daughter she knows, a loving mother who is very responsible and caring. But everything else she learns about Tony's behavior that night leaves her baffled.
I couldn't believe it. I've never seen her act that way. Never. The only thing I could have thought was mixing alcohol with medication that she was on and lack of sleep.
With this in mind, Donna and her husband Peter begin driving the roads around the area where Tony was last seen.
I kept thinking, if she's that tired, or if she's that out of it, she would have had to have wrecked that car. There's no way she could have made it home or anywhere else. We were looking for all kinds of signs, scraped guardrail. We were looking for like broken branches where a car might have went down, you know, in between trees and stuff. We were all over that area, but we couldn't find anything.
But when Donna and Peter study a map of the area, they are struck by something. Tony could have taken a wrong turn looking for the expressway entrance heading home.
Leaving Gladwin area, it only takes you into Philadelphia. You have to go off the next X, turn around, and come back. So we thought, well, instead of that, we'll just go down under the bridge, and that's where the river happens to be. We make a sharp left, and then the park is off to the right. And that's what made me think, well, if she pulled in there, she could have went right off the boat ramp and into the water.
Coming up, have her parents finally located Tony?
If she's in the river, then she's not alive anymore. If she's not in the river, then we still don't know what happened to her. It was a lose-lose situation at that point.
29-year-old nurse and mother Tony Lee Sharpless is missing. Overtired and operating under a dangerous mix of bipolar medication and alcohol, Tony was last seen in Gladwin, a suburb of Philadelphia that she is unfamiliar with. Her family fears that in her altered state, Tony may have driven into the Schuylkill River.
We decided the Schuylkill River needed to be searched because that was the closest place to Willie Green's home. If my daughter left there and went down to park the car, she could have went into the boat ramp because it was like approximately 5 o'clock in the morning. It was still dark. And when you're looking at water and a road and they run together, you can't tell the difference between the two of them.
When Tony's mother tells the police about her theory, they agree that the area can be very disorienting, especially at night.
Anybody who's not familiar with that section of the township, the Gladwin area, could very easily get turned around and lost, because while it is a residential area, it is heavily wooded. There's no sidewalks, and there's not a whole lot of street lights.
They also agree that the location is very isolated. If Tony had driven into the river, there would most certainly have been no witnesses.
The area is fairly desolate at night. The boat ramp is not meant to be used after sundown, so there is no reason for anybody to be down there.
However, the authorities feel that there is not enough probable cause to warrant a river search.
Our officers went down to the river and checked to see if there's any indication whatsoever of a vehicle going into the river, and we didn't find any.
Nevertheless, Texas EquiSearch, a nonprofit organization that conducts missing person searches, agrees to come to Pennsylvania to spearhead the operation. They scan the river bottom with sonar, while the Lower Merion Police Department joins the search.
The way the sonar system works is it's attached to a boat, and it scans through the water and actually takes photographs of items on the bottom of the river or on the riverbed.
As you go off the boat ramp, it gets very deep. It's about 25 feet deep as soon as you leave the boat ramp. So this is a fairly deep water operation there with very low visibility.
Despite the depth and murky water, sonar hits upon what looks like 3 cars at the bottom of the river.
We arranged for the Philadelphia dive unit to come out the next morning and to dive and to determine if they were vehicles and if they were involved, in this case, if they were in fact Tony's car.
While Donna is happy that the search is being conducted, she cannot bring herself to be there.
When they had said there were cars in there, my heart was pounding. I was pacing the floor. I was pacing the floor, my husband and I both.
Tony's sister Candy, however, is there, steeling herself for whatever they find.
It was kind of nerve-wracking because it was a lose-lose situation at that point. If she's in the river, then she's not alive anymore. If she's not in the river, then we still don't know what happened to her.
Before the dive team begins their work, investigators go over the river with a second, more advanced sonar. They discover much more than they had bargained for.
The total number of vehicles that were found in our section of the river was 11.
According to the police, the remoteness of the boat ramp makes it a popular spot to get rid of stolen and other unwanted vehicles.
What the dive team did was they went into the water there, and they would be able to, on a close-up view, take a look at the vehicles and get a basic description of them. In some cases, if there was a vehicle registration plate still attached, they would remove the plate and return it to us once they got out of the water. That's what happened in this case.
As the divers work to identify the sunken cars, Tony's loved ones wait on pins and needles on shore.
As they found the vehicles, they were letting me know that they weren't hers, but there were still 1 or 2 towards the end that they weren't for sure about, that they had to come back and double check on. The plan of action was to get them out of there, to get them identified for sure. You know, because even if they pulled the tag off, what if the tag was changed at that point?
Candy must wait another week for her peace of mind. The weight of the water and silt collected in the submerged vehicles makes extracting them a tricky operation. A large tow truck with a boom extending over the water is needed to do the job.
Watching several cars being dragged out of the river, every car was like, I hope it's not hers.
9 vehicles are eventually removed from the Schuylkill River, none of them belonging to Tony. Although her loved ones are relieved, the conclusion of the river search without any new information to Tony's whereabouts increases their fear.
When you have that special person in your life that's missing, you feel like you're in a black hole. You can't touch the sides. You're falling and falling. There's no bottom and there's no top. You can't see, but you just continue to fall and your heart just sinks.
Coming up, police turn their attention to the last person to have seen Tony.
Everybody was asking me about drugs and what drugs was she on, and I don't do drugs. And if she was on any drugs, I didn't know of them.
When Tony Lee Sharpless goes missing outside of Philadelphia, her loved ones are stunned. The 29-year-old nurse lives a simple life, devoted to her daughter. But by all reports, Tony behaved like a different person on the night she disappeared.
She wasn't herself, because the Tony I know would have never left me on a dark road or with a house full of strangers. She wouldn't have did that.
Crystal Johns is the last person known to have seen Tony. That night, the two women had last been at the house of Willie Green, a professional basketball player on the Philadelphia 76ers.
I contacted Mr. Willie Green to see if he could shed some light on what happened. Mr. Green gave the same account of the night that Miss Johns had given.
There were never any suspects in the case. There was never any indication of foul play. There was no person of interest, really, that jumped out at us during any phase of the investigation.
Despite Willie and Crystal's cooperation with authorities, rumors of foul play begin to circulate.
Tony's disappearance received a lot of local media coverage, both on TV and also on the internet. And unfortunately, in some of this coverage, Crystal was described or was portrayed to be someone who was hiding something or who was involved in something happening to her friend.
The blog just said that me and the Greens disposed of Tony, that I'm withholding information, all types of stuff that was not true. It was almost like harassment. The one person that wants to find her friend and that took it serious from day one is being harassed.
After several weeks of negative attention, Crystal calls the Lower Merion Police Department and requests to take a polygraph test.
Crystal asked to take a polygraph. We were fairly convinced that her information was accurate. However, she wanted to do it because there was so much pressure on her that she may have had something to do with Tony's disappearance.
I passed with flying colors. I passed. I didn't lie about anything. There's nothing I withheld at all. And I went and I got something to eat for the first time in a very long time. I finally had my appetite back.
Tony Lee Sharpless has been missing for 3 weeks. After extensive searching and interviews, all leads grow cold until suddenly there's movement in the case.
On September 14th, 2009, I was contacted by the New Jersey State Police that on September 8th, their vehicle had recorded Tony Sharpless's car in the city of Camden.
Camden, New Jersey lies directly across the river from Philadelphia. It's only a 20-minute drive from where Tony was last seen.
It was the first information we had since Tony went missing that she and her car was moving. It was in the area. It was somewhere.
According to the Camden Police Department, Tony's car was recorded by a piece of technology called a license plate reader.
The license plate reader is a police vehicle that's equipped with a camera system that automatically runs vehicle registration plates through the computer system. It runs every tag that it passes, that it captures on this video system.
But the reader that recorded Tony's license plate number was in an unmanned vehicle.
If there's a police officer in the vehicle at the time that a vehicle registration plate is hit upon, there's an alarm in the vehicle, and the police officer would know then to look for this vehicle. Unfortunately, in Tony's case, the registration plate that was read, it happened at a time that the police vehicle was parked. So the information didn't come forth for several days.
To make up for lost time, the Lower Merion Police Department get right to work pursuing the lead.
What we did was we joined forces with Camden Police Department and the New Jersey State Police, and they conducted citywide searches for that car, particularly concentrated in that area.
For Tony's family, the development in Camden, a city known for its high crime areas, makes them very uneasy.
When I heard that her car was spotted in Camden, I knew something was definitely wrong. We had recently went to a concert in Camden, and she just wanted to get out of there because we know it's not a good area.
It told me that either she wasn't in that car, or if she was, she may have been in the trunk of the car, because she would never go to Camden on her own, not willingly anyway.
While friends and family believe that Tony has almost certainly met with foul play, the authorities quietly develop a second theory.
It was reported to us that Tony may have had an addiction problem earlier in her life. The fact that her license plate was read in Camden worried us, because if you knew where to buy drugs, that would be one of the areas to go.
But police are unable to determine if Tony has bought drugs in Camden before.
Everybody was asking me about drugs and what drugs was she on, and I don't do drugs. And if she was on any drugs, I didn't know of them, and I would definitely volunteer that information.
As a result of the investigation, we certainly became aware of almost all aspects of Tony's life.
I was told through her family and through her friends that Tony did have a history of drug abuse. Yes, the area where the car was seen, high prostitution, high heroin.
She suffered with some past demons, but as of the time of the incident, it appeared that she had had her life in order.
As the Camden lead goes nowhere, and no new information surfaces, the search for Tony Lee Sharpless begins to stall.
It is very hard in a case like this. There's very little information here. I mean, really what we have is a girl left the township at 5 o'clock in the morning, drunk and angry, and was last seen by her friend. And the car, we believe, was in Camden several days later.
Across town, a private investigator hears Tony's case on the news for the first time and has a strong premonition.
For what it's worth, I got a flash of something, and I yelled at the television. She's very much alive.
Coming up, a new theory about Tony's whereabouts generates hope and fear.
I know it's far-fetched to a lot of people, but in my world...
It's been a month since Tony Lee Sharpless drove away from a gathering in Gladwin, Pennsylvania. The only clue in the case that has surfaced is a license plate hit in Camden, New Jersey. After that, both Tony and her vehicle appear to have vanished. But now, private investigator Eileen Law thinks she knows what has happened to Tony.
My instinct told me that, one, that she was alive, and two, that drugs were involved somehow.
Like many in the area, Eileen is aware of the recent bust of a sex trafficking ring in New Jersey.
Prosecutors say this man, who called himself Prince, enslaved young women and forced them into a life of hell.
Just 1 month earlier, Alan E. Brown Jr. was arrested for prostituting dozens of young women from Newark to Atlantic City.
This man is one of thousands of men all across the country who prey upon young women, anywhere from 12 to 50. And what they do is go to bus stations, train stations, nightclubs, and look for young women who seem distressed in some way.
Once they were forced into his stable of prostitutes, they were subjected to beatings, to isolation from others, to coercion. They were locked inside apartments.
He would take their cell phones and their credit cards and force drugs on them. I know it's far-fetched to a lot of people, but in my world, that happens all the time.
Although Eileen believes that Tony may have fallen victim to this type of crime, she has no facts to support her hunch. It is only when she meets Tony's family for the first time that she realizes how right she may be.
My daughter Candy and I went to meet with her. She had asked me just basic questions like the police did.
It was a lot of paperwork, a lot of questioning. Where was she last seen? What was she driving? When was the missing persons report filed?
Almost immediately, Eileen learns of several details that confirm her fears.
When Tony left that night with her friend, she had less than a quarter of a tank of gas. So when you do the mileage, there's just no way that she would be able to get home. I believe that somewhere along the expressway in Philadelphia, she ran out of gas. And that was the beginning of the end.
At the conclusion of her first meeting with Donna and Candy, Eileen offers her services to find Tony for free. She begins work right away to get the story of the missing nurse and mother back into the media.
I believe that she is in a weakened state. We need to get her picture out there.
Almost immediately, there are sightings of women believed to be Tony.
When that aired, by the time I got back to the office, there was a flood of calls. The first sightings were in the city of Lancaster, where Tony was a nurse at Lancaster General Hospital, and a lot of them used the phrase that she was distraught or distressed.
As Eileen follows up each lead, Tony's family waits anxiously, wondering if Tony has really been found.
There was one sighting in particular that got me anxious in Lancaster County, and that's one where the person was almost sure it was her to the point he wanted to get off the bus and go grab her. And the description of her, the description of the clothes, everything matched.
But none of the sightings lead to Tony. After 1 week, the calls from Lancaster stop. Then, another call comes in.
I got a call from a man, and he said that he drove trucks to Camden, New Jersey. And he said that he believed he saw Tony.
Over the next 3 days,